Segment on Bridge Street is sponsored by Aging Advocates CNY.
Living with dementia is difficult to navigate for patients and their caregivers.
It's something you don't have to do alone, though. Next month, you can learn about a number of resources at the second annual Living with Dementia Conference. Here to tell us more are Sheila Olstrom and Mary Koenig. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us this morning. Welcome back to Bridge Street. Sheila, we mentioned last year the first inaugural, I should say, which now is an annual conference, Living with Dementia. Why was that created, and what were some of the highlights from last year?
Well, there wasn't an Alzheimer's conference for several years, and post-COVID, there's so much need for local people to be able to find local resources. So I kept getting nudged, you should do this, Sheila. Senior Home Care Solutions does a lot to help people with dementia. You should do this. And then Melissa was harassing me from Aging Advocates. She's like, we should do this. So that's how it came to be. So,
what were some of the highlights last year? Because I imagine it was a hit.
Yep, it was fantastic. We sold out standing room only, which was wonderful for a first-time conference. And we did a lot with local resources, how people can find low-cost and free resources in addition to paid resources. Caregivers, activities, programs that are out there for care partners to work with people with dementia. All kinds of dementia. We had different doctors that came and spoke. It was just fantastic.
So, Mary, you participated in the conference last year. You have since joined the board of directors. Why is this cause so important to you?
So I've worked in the memory care space for 30 years at Loretto, running the Heritage, and I've been involved with the Alzheimer's Association for many of those years. And I attended the conference last year, and it was such a great success. I was lucky enough to be on a panel talking about local resources, and I sat at a table with some people from Velocity Research and some personal caregivers, some people that were caring for their spouses, and it was just such a dynamic place to be in, just such a sharing, and it's just so important for caregivers. It's such an isolating thing to be a caregiver of someone with dementia. So when Melissa and Sheila reached out and asked me to be on the board for Living with Dementia, I just said, if whatever's going on in the dementia space, I want to be a part of it.
So who would benefit from going to this conference then? Is it strictly caregivers, or would it be care providers? Who would actually benefit?
Honestly, who wouldn't benefit? Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, we all know people who are dealing with dementia, and that's the sad truth. So whether it's a family member, whether it's a neighbor, someone that you know, or if you work in a professional space, or if you work in a bank, anywhere that you work that you're dealing with someone with dementia. And the other piece of it, even if you don't, if you're lucky enough not to know someone that has dementia, we all have brains, and I think brain health is so important. There's going to be a great segment this year on brain-gut health, which is really interesting. So it's really open to anybody.
So how will this year be different from last year?
So we are not repeating a lot of the things we did last year. And at the end of the conference last year, we had a lot of people suggest some things that they really would like to see. So we've tried to incorporate some of those in the conference this year. But brain-gut health is one of them. We have a geriatric psychiatrist coming from Rochester to speak, which is great because we do not currently have one in Syracuse, New York. We also are going to repeat two things but in a breakout session. So if you don't want to see that again this year, we'll have others. And we're also going to be doing some training for caregivers and care partners so that they can learn some different ways to interact with their loved ones who have difficult behaviors.
Mary, you mentioned a little bit about the board of Living with Dementia. Can you tell us more about that and how they're looking out for people with dementia and the caregivers?
Yeah, well, it's a relatively new organization, but we have a great group of people that are just really interested in supporting people in Central New York who are caring for people with dementia. And the biggest thing is just getting people the resources that they need, whether it's education or training or any kind of support. So it's really exciting.
Such important work, as you mentioned, ladies. There's so many people affected by this disease. We really appreciate you coming on and getting us all ready for the second annual Living with Dementia Conference. It's Tuesday, in September, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Embassy Suites, Syracuse at Destiny USA Mall. Learn more at livingwithdementiacny.org. This segment has been sponsored by Aging Advocates CNY.